chug some beers and make some bad gambling picks. Welcome to ChuggieBets.
What's going on?
So we're going to talk about the 2024 NFL draft, mock drafts that are coming in.
That might be the most ridiculous thing in all of sports.
I actually love those because someone just referenced those recently with the draft just passed, like the previous ones, and someone had Sean Oakman going first overall, and I just love that reminded me of Sean Oakman. Remember the dude who was super jacked for Baylor, like a D end?
I don't remember.
You don't?
I do.
Yeah. I don't think he ever even made it to the NFL.
He was like a horse as a. I'm just reading through the 2024 draft. I'm excited. I miss it already.
Will the Dolphins have first-round picks in 2024?
Good question. Let's see who the Dolphins.
As long as nothing happens between now and then, right?
Yeah, assuming they don't tamper.
Plenty of time. So it looks like we're going to have the 21st pick, and we're going to go for a linebacker out of Washington, Braylon Trice. Get your popcorn ready, boys. It's going to be a hell of a year.
I am a proponent of taking linebackers in the first round.
How do you feel about running backs in the top 12?
Yeah, I mean, not ideal, but honestly, I think it's pretty overblown. The general, I think all the draft nerds, right, like the football fans, totally they view it as too black and white, right? It's like running backs, tight ends, off-ball linebackers are not highly valued positions, so you never take them in the first round. And I don't think you never take them in the first round. I think Adrian Peterson, I mean, granted that's, 10, 15 years ago, whatever it was, but I doubt anyone would rather have any of the guys taken ahead or behind him. I think if you look back at it, a lot of teams would have rather had Adrian Peterson with their pick.
First off, I think that was way more than 10 or 15 years ago because we are really old. But then also, yeah, it makes a lot more sense after they traded DeAndre Swift too, right? It doesn't make a ton of sense to spend a top 12 pick on a running back when you have DeAndre Swift. But if you knew you were going to trade him, then it kind of makes sense in retrospect.
Yeah, and I don't even know if they knew they were going to trade him, but I think they knew what they had in him, and that's a running back with talent that cannot stay on the field. So that it's kind of tough to get all you want out of someone.
I think the position is going to be more normalized that I don't think you're going to see them on the field as much, right? Not in a bad way. There's very few people who can take that kind of pounding anymore. And if you're going to invest a first-round pick, it's almost better to split the carries. So you don't take as much of a pounding. Don't want to get pounded that hard. Is that what we're doing here?
I mean, to get pounded for 3 hours, 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it's much better to pound one guy for a little bit and then switch and pound a different guy.
I don't have enough time. Yeah. 3 hours, what would I be? That's way too long. Yeah. I've always had 30 to 45 seconds.
Well, that's why the rosters are so deep. You need a lot of guys to do 3 hours of pounding.
Got to fill the holes, right? You got to fill the holes.
That A gap.
So this is going to be a hard pivot, but it actually is tangentially related. Did you guys see recently, the NBA on TNT, they got, Charles Barkley and Shaq. And I guess Charles Barkley did something. He's like, those young boys are coming. And then, the cameraman pivoted to Shaq, and he just looks off camera, and he smiles. I was like, I would have lost my shit.
I like that shit.
If I made that, make that connection, yeah.
They'll eat into that. They know what they're doing. Well, I don't think Chuck knew what he's doing, but everyone else can just be subtle enough. They're we got the joke, and we know it. I do think it's an important loop to close here. In the 2007 NFL draft, number 1 pick was Jamarcus Russell. So I do think Oakland would have preferred Adrian Peterson. But Calvin Johnson, Joe Thomas were taken before him, and those are probably pretty good ones. But taking 7th, he's pretty valuable. It's more valuable than Ted Ginn.
That's a pretty solid draft. It's funny because I feel like Ted Ginn's career arc was bust actually is pretty good, then like kind of fizzled out in the middle range. Like I don't think he was very good at the Dolphins. Then he was really good on the Saints, right?
Yeah, I think he was fine with the Dolphins. He just wasn't
Yeah.
maybe the number 9 pick in the NFL draft good.
Yeah, and I might be mixing up my drafts here, but wasn't like Brady Quinn available in that draft, and the Dolphins like desperately needed a quarterback, and people were
Yeah.
pissed.
He was number 22 to Cleveland. Cleveland really likes to draft terrible Notre Dame quarterbacks. Remember Deshaun Kaiser? You remember
Yeah.
that?
I do.
What an experience. Speaking of Deshaun Kaiser, Will Levis got a little bit of the Deshaun Kaiser treatment this weekend where everyone in the world just watching him suffer as he sits in a room by himself.
Deshaun Kaiser, handsome man.
Very handsome, much more handsome than Will Levis. Do you think Will Levis's talent got him dropped to the second round, or the fact that he puts mayonnaise in his coffee, or the fact that he eats the whole banana peel and all? There's a lot of red flags here.
I think it's a combination.
Mhm.
I think it's mostly talent, but it's also that he just has an off-putting persona.
Yeah, sounds pretty off-putting. My question for you is this. You go to day one of the draft, you sit in the green room, you do not get selected. The second day of the draft happens. Do you go sit in the green room again, or do you go home?
So I saw a thing, I forget who it was, somebody last year, or no, it was like Darius Slay was like, he kind of dropped. He thought he might go in the first, and he went in the second round the year he was drafted. And he was like, he should stay because, you forge a bond with the other dudes who fall. And he's like, I'm still friends with whoever else fell in that draft. And Will Levis, I think, was like, officially, it was like, I'm not showing up for day 2, but then he did, probably because the agent was like, the bad luck to not, you guys gotta do it now. But
Oh, did he show up? I was busy on the second day. I didn't actually watch any of it. I just saw the headline that said he wasn't going to go.
I actually don't know.
I
I didn't watch, but I thought he went because I don't know.
Yeah, he might have.
It also it's kind of funny how we view athletes, right? Like if I were in that situation and I got to like pick 20 and I hadn't been picked, I'd be like, I'm just gonna roll out. Like I'm out of here. Like, but like if an athlete actually did that, we'd all be like, what a fucking selfish prick. He thinks it's all about him, and like, nah, like I'm not gonna sit here and have people like talk shit about me for 3 more hours.
Do you think the NFL likes the fact that he didn't get drafted for the press coverage? Like that camera finds him a lot, and it feels bad to like it, but it's clearly like they're eating up the victim shame a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those things that like I wasn't watching it with my wife, but if I had been, like I think there's a chance that she goes like, "Who is this guy? Why do they keep showing him?" And then like I explained to her, and then like she would get invested in that, like one way or the other. Either like, "Oh, his girlfriend has an annoying face, let's root against him," or she'd be like, "Oh, I feel so bad for this guy. Look, let's root for him." So I do think it brings in some of the more casual.
Yeah, he was probably the only prospect who passed the Bechdel test.
I don't even know. Is it?
That's like in a movie when you have like a female main character.
Oh,
So it's from a cartoon. It was a cartoonist named something Bechdel, and you have to have 2 female characters that both have names.
I'm so sorry, Andy. It's very funny. Like,
and they have to
I don't know her
speak to
first
each
name.
other about something that's not a man. That's the Bechdel test.
Yeah.
so would the test proves if it's like equality? Is that the idea, or like the characters matter? The women characters are not a facilitation
not
of
just-
male characters.
Yeah, they're actually like developed characters, but it wasn't in this case. It doesn't actually pass the Bechdel test, but the joke was there. I had to take it, but
I was confused because he had at least 4 different women sitting on that couch with him throughout the evening. One of them was a little older, so I'm assuming that was his mother. One of them looked just like him, except with like long hair, so I'm assuming that was his sister. But there were 2 others that I'm not sure what, maybe another sister and a girlfriend, but I wasn't sure.
I think there were at least 2 sisters and a girlfriend, and then if you saw a mom, then maybe I don't know. That's a lot of women.
It was. Second running back in the 2007 draft was the 12th pick, and was Marshawn Lynch. I don't think anyone regretted getting
that's a reach. I'm sure everyone hated that pick the second it happened, right?
So,
It's a good running back
I want
draft.
to just go back to the running backs thing because this is a thing I thought of too whenever it was giving me shit about the Lions. Did I freeze?
no,
Your video did. We can still hear you.
Okay. So, Jahmyr Gibbs supposed to be like a two-way, runner, pass catcher. He's supposed to be like a Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey type. And if he doesn't have to be that to warrant the pick, but my point is if you've got someone who is a great pass catcher who can run routes and you can line them up in the slot, how is that different than drafting a receiver? Honestly, it's probably better than drafting a receiver because they can also run the ball. So no one's giving anyone shit about 4 receivers going off the board 2 picks later, but I don't know. I guess my point is if running back and tight end are overvalued or, don't have much positional value, I don't know why wide receiver isn't in that conversation as well.
Agreed.
I actually do know because the answer is Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, but still.
Well, that's true. And I think the idea here is you had the 18th pick, right? You could probably got Jahmyr Gibbs at the 18th pick. I'm actually pretty sure you could have. You may have been able to get it at the 34th, but that gets a little more dicey. And if you really identify the guy, who gives a shit? There was a conversation of the 2012 NFL draft where Pete Carroll got an F. And that was the draft he got Russell Wilson, the whole Legion of Boom defense, and everyone was criticizing him. Bobby Wagner, I forgot whoever, someone else who was
safety or Frank Clark.
Frank Clark. Yeah, and everyone was criticizing him. And the truth is, it doesn't fucking matter, man. Mel Kiper can go up there, and who's Mel Kiper? Young Mel Kiper, the
Todd
guy.
McShay.
Todd McShay. They could sit there and pontificate and wax poetic. Their jobs are fucking useless. They had a more useless job than like a college football recruiter.
It is the best gig in sports, right? Being Mel Kiper.
Because there's no ramifications for being wrong. You do nothing.
I do think he puts in a lot of work. Like he knows these guys.
He knows. Also might not. Like there's so many people that put out better like mock drafts that he can just literally just aggregate those and say this is his thought.
An average pick. I think you could be that. I do think he does put in a lot of work. Did you know Mel Kiper doesn't have a cell phone? I heard an interview. I heard an interview. In order to get him, you have to call the landline, and then like somehow a message gets to him, and then he calls you back from a landline. I was like, that is the most Mel Kiper shit I've ever heard. Because I don't think he's that old. I don't think he's like old enough to not embrace a cell phone.
So 2 things.
Been doing this for like 40 years.
Yeah, 2 things that are also interesting on that note. One, he's only in the 65, I think. And he started at ESPN 40. So he was the mock draft expert when he was 25 fucking years old. 25. You got a 25-year-old out here being like, this is the guys. Crazy. Second thing that I think is more interesting. I saw an interview. I guess he was on Pardon My Take. I don't know if it was recently or in the recent few years. The man eats 3 pumpkin pies a week. He doesn't eat the crust, and he eats 12 cans of fat-free whipped cream with it. That's fucking insane. He's got someone locked up in his basement, right? That's why he doesn't have a cell phone.
For sure.
Like pumpkin pie is good. I'm not gonna hate on pumpkin pie, but I'm not eating 3 fucking pies by myself a week in fucking April.
Right.
For May now, but like, what the fuck?
That's
weird.
Insane.
Does he eat the whole pie or like a slice of pie? Is he having half a pie a day? Like
he said he eats 2 to 3 pies, depending on the size. If they're smaller pies, 3. If they're bigger pies, 2 pies. So he's eating like 2+ slices a day.
He eats 43% of a pumpkin pie every day, just like.
Yeah, at least 3 slices, right? If you do the math. Yeah.
That's too many pies. All right, so we're going to cover more draft. The 2024 class is going to be banging. I do think, and Andy, I don't know if you have a dog in this. I do think this was a very weak draft and a very weak quarterback class. People go scrounging. I think there's value to Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson, we've been on this podcast before talking about how we don't like him, but he does have some skills, right? I don't know if they're good for a quarterback. And CJ Stroud, I think we all like him a lot. But do you think there's any way – I think if this was next year's draft class included, I don't think they're even close to where Caleb Williams and Drake May sit on the draft board. Any thoughts on that?
No, I agree completely. Just sort of a weak quarterback class. I mean, what was the fifth guy off the board was Hendon Hooker, right?
Yeah.
Like I like Hendon Hooker a lot, but yeah, when that's your fourth guy off the board, I definitely a weaker draft class. Sunshine.
We're talking hookers. Do you have any thoughts on hookers? Sunshine?
They can be expensive.
They can be. It's a pricey endeavor.
Yeah. So Matt, you want to repeat the question for Alan, Chris?
Al, we talked about this briefly last week. We were talking about Drake May and Caleb Williams. If they're included in this class, do you think they go as the top two quarterbacks of this class? I was saying I think this is a very weak draft and a very weak quarterback class in general. But that's my thought. I think Caleb Williams would go number one all day, and Drake May would be close behind him.
So Drake May was a freshman, right? And Caleb Williams is going back for his fourth or fifth year.
Yeah, they're both draft eligible this upcoming draft. I don't know how that works with Drake May.
Is Caleb Williams only going to be a junior?
I don't remember, bud. I don't remember.
I guess my point
he
is,
must be, because he would have come out this year if he could, right? Like
he wasn't eligible this year.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got to be at least a junior. So yeah, so he's going to be a junior, and Drake May is going to be a sophomore, right? So
yeah,
Drake May's got another year to go. Is that right? Or am I wrong?
Drake May somehow is draft eligible next year. I don't know. Maybe he was a redshirt freshman. I think he was a freshman.
Or maybe it's like a age thing. I guess I don't really know. I feel like a lot of NFL teams would be wary to draft a quarterback with only, 1 or 2 years experience at the college level, depending on the system they're in. But it's just because I feel like some of them are going to be like weird about it, I don't know.
Anthony Richardson went
shit.
fourth overall.
Yeah, they go before Richardson.
13 starts. So
well, and honestly, bud, I don't think you're going to get a lot of snaps. I think what you're thinking is a misnomer, especially in the first round going forward. You're going to see these guys get like 12, 13 games, 14 games. They may play 2 seasons, but if they're playing for the top teams, they're bolting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my point is I think a lot of teams are conservative, and if there's not enough footage out there that they feel comfortable with, then they're just going to pass.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think personally, I think teams are way too willing to draft quarterbacks already. I think a lot of times I see quarterbacks get drafted and I'm like, that guy's not going to be good. And then he isn't. And, there might be like one Josh Allen every decade that you might miss out on, which is, not an insignificant thing to like pass on Josh Allen, right? And then he turns into what he is. But I think for every Josh Allen, there's 50 or 100 Paxton Lynches.
Yeah, this next quarterback class is loaded. It's really top heavy. I can't believe I'm back here. I'm going to shut the hell up in a second. But after those two, you have Quinn Ewers, who is going to get a lot of respect as far as Heisman consideration.
Notre Dame, right?
Texas. Then
right. Yeah, sorry.
Michael Penix, who has probably the biggest arm in the draft. And these are all –
Isn't Arch supplanting him at Texas?
Possibly. I don't know what the hell's going to – and Bo Nix are all projected to go in the first round. I don't like Bo Nix as a college player, but he's been much better this year. So I think maybe Auburn sucks, or him and Auburn is a bad combination. So the Arch Manning thing is interesting. They didn't announce a quarterback as a starter, and it's really smart because if they would have announced Arch Manning, you would have lost Quinn Ewers, right? Yeah. He would have been transferring probably to University of Miami. I've had this conspiracy for a while that he will go to University of Miami. They will pay for him, and he's good. He's really good. But I'll be interested to see how Sarkisian handles the fall practices leading up to it. Because I bet
can't they transfer out then?
Yeah, they can. But I also think you want to mitigate that as much as possible. I don't think Arch will probably be at the same level as Quinn Ewers at this point. Will he be better in the long term? Yes, probably. But Arch Manning also played in a very weak level of high school football. And I think it's going to be a bigger acclimation period than they're expecting. But they don't want to say anything to Arch Manning because they want to. Like, they're trying to keep this whole thing under wraps to keep
Is this Peyton's kid or Eli's kid or?
It's Cooper's kid.
Cooper's kid.
Okay, so the most athletic Manning. Do you think they made that up just to build the hype around Arch?
No. They've been saying that for years. Like when I was
That's
in
what I'm
college.
saying. Like after Cooper had
This is the long con.
like this
Al.
kid. Yeah, they're playing the long con. Absolutely.
Like just in case Coop ever has a kid and we want him to go pro, let's
So
pretend.
instead of being like, oh, this is the Manning who didn't make it pro, no thanks. They're like, ooh, he was the most athletic.
But also saying someone was more athletic than Peyton and Eli isn't exactly saying that he's, you know, Bo Jackson.
I mean, shoot, just having a normal sized forehead makes him more athletic.
It means he's got a 6-inch vert instead of a 4.
No, but Matt brought up kind of an interesting point, and it made me think with the NIL money that goes around. I imagine that could make big time players like Arch Manning, who's already getting his check, more willing to be a little more patient. Maybe he's okay redshirting for a year behind Quinn Ewers, when otherwise, you know, previously he'd have been like, I can go anywhere and start day one. I'm going to go somewhere that's going to happen. You know?
Actually, I my opinion on this is that I think that it's going to lead to more people redshirting and allowing themselves to grow more, you know, because they're not chasing money, right? So they're going to, you know, develop more and probably become more of a well-rounded player when they go into the pros, you know, rather than coming out being gun shy and getting their ass kicked right in the beginning.
Yeah,
their pro career.
I think we're saying the same thing. I think before the NIL deals and, you know, people getting, you know, a fat check to go somewhere to play, they were like, nah, I got to get out of here. I got to start making money. The top talent, at least. But with NIL money, it makes it a little bit easier to be more patient with it.
Yeah, it also depends on whether you believe that those guys were being paid before, and most of them were, right?
Yeah, I guess I totally kind of forget about that whole part of it. But, you know, it's nice to get a check that you can deposit in your bank account and not one that you have to, you know, keep cash under your mattress.
Yeah, fair enough. Does anybody have anything else you want to talk about the this year's draft or next year's draft, or should we pivot to
I do.
Prime?
I do. I'm
All
sorry.
right. Yeah,
But
no.
when we were going on the conversation, the 2024 draft is something that was nowhere on my mind. I just Googled it, opened up the first article, and it's kind of exactly what y'all said. It had those two quarterbacks going, and where this particular article had them going, I don't know. But I was You saw
Atlanta? Did they both go to Atlanta?
They're both going to Atlanta.
Hey, congratulations.
But number 23, drafted by the Ravens, is Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Yeah.
That's the coolest fucking name ever.
His real Christian name is Jaquincy McKinstry, which is very fun to say.
That's a tongue twister.
It's tough, but I think he goes by. I'm going to make sure I got this right, but I believe it's Jaquincy.
The Quee and Stree back to back is a good like warm up exercise.
It is, yeah. He's awesome, highly touted coming out of high school. I'm not surprised he is really, really good in college and will be a good pro.
Yeah. Also, Drake May. I also Googled it. His freshman year of 2021, he played for 4 games. You know, reached his max amount and then redshirted. So.
Oh, okay. Thank you. It's very useful. That's a good. No, that is good. We were asking. I didn't know how the hell if he was a true freshman or not. Yeah, it should be a fun draft. You guys want to talk about 2025 draft next? You want to line up the prospects there?
Good idea.
When will our kids start to be eligible?
2036.
Yeah. let's talk about
Yeah,
that
well,
one.
who knows if we're even on Earth then, or if college football exists. That might be in the XFL, like minors.
So, Matt, I know you want to talk a little about Prime.
Yeah, so anyone who is unfamiliar with what's going on in college football, the landscape's changed. Right, you used to sign an NLI, and then you were locked into a school agreement for 3 or 4 years. You wrote it out. You may get cut from the team, but you still had your full scholarship. Everything was covered. You had to get paid under the table, but it was more of the traditional college system. Now that there's an NIL era where players can get paid if they're of a certain talent. They can't get paid by the school, but there's affiliations, these cohorts that work together to pay players. Deion Sanders, everyone's familiar with Deion Sanders as a player, coach at Jackson State, goes to Colorado, kind of acts like an asshole in my opinion. He goes there and starts like threatening kids, saying, hey, hit that transfer portal hard. And they did. They did hit the transfer portal hard. To the tune of like 47 players have left the program, right?
Out of 90, right? Or
out of 85, you
85?
You can only carry 85 scholarship players. Before I
So
go
more than half.
Yeah, more than half. And look, Colorado is a dreadful football team, and they're hiring Deion Sanders to change the culture to win games. So some of this was to be expected. And look, not throwing shade at Deion, everybody's doing it. Everyone's doing the transfer market. They're telling their kids, hey, go look for other opportunities elsewhere. But it's much more shocking when it's not 9 or 10 and it's like 47 kids leave the program. There's a few angles we can take on this. And I'll let you guys choose this first. Deion's getting a lot of press for the school. Do you think Deion is more of a positive light for Colorado or more of like detriment to the kids that are in the program?
That's tough. I think both things are very true.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think he's kind of like you use the word asshole, Matt, and he is kind of acting like an asshole in some of it. But I mean, a lot of these coaches are assholes. They're just usually doing it, behind closed doors. And like, there's been a culture of a long time of like coaches treat these kids like shit. I think when you have a big personality like Deion, and that's why we all love him, right? Like we all know Deion Sanders, like even though he played decades ago, we all know him because he's got this huge personality. If you got a big personality, you're going to take big swings, and big swings also means big misses, right? Like this is just a miss for him. I think he came in and thought he could be Deion Sanders, and he kind of misjudged this one. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think those players probably would have left anyway, right? He just comes out looking kind of like an asshole. But I think there's a lot of people that are still going to want to play for him. So I don't see it hurting him long term.
Yeah, I think so. I don't really. I mean, I'm assuming 43 transfers is a lot more than most teams have.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true.
By a lot.
Though,
it is.
Is it double or quadruple or?
Yeah.
It's a lot. So it's a dick move to just kick all these dudes out, basically. But if you want to look at this from Deion's perspective, what would you rather him do? Keep those guys around, be bad for a year, then bring in more guys the next year, be a little bit better but still bad, then bring in more of your guys and have more guys transfer out, and then start to be good? He signed a contract. I don't know how long it's for, but we all know how coaches are treated. If they, you have to win games. So maybe he's just accelerating his timeline here. Maybe they will be very bad this year, but maybe that means next year he is closer to fielding the roster he wants to field. I also think when maybe I'm not well versed enough in college coaching landscape to say this with enough like authority here, but at least like NFL wise, when it comes to black coaches, they don't get second opportunities. In college football, it may be a little different. It may be a little bit different, particularly for Deion Sanders' case. But I know a lot of people, were wary of him making the jump from Jackson State to any D1 program. And I don't really necessarily want to hold it against him if the whole point of this is to get your team as good as possible, as fast as possible. I mean, is there a better way to do that? I don't genuinely know. I think personality-wise, probably, or you could have handled the whole situation personality and like with a little more like more respectfully. But I don't necessarily hate the decisions he's made, if that makes sense.
No, I think it's fair to say both exist, right? And don't get it twisted. Nick Saban is processing kids in the similar fashion, right? It's just not over the top. And he's got a team at a point where if Nick Saban cuts a kid or asks them, hey, like, we're not going to have you on the team anymore. You can keep your scholarship or you can transfer out. That kid's probably going to get a lot of good opportunities because he's from Alabama, right? These kids are going to be a man without a land a little bit more in Colorado, but that doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do for the university and for your paycheck. But is your paycheck worth sacrificing 30 kids at a time, right? And look, it will bring revenue to the state. It will do a lot of things. Winning football teams increases enrollments, a lot of other things as well.
To interject, if I have an 8-figure salary, I will literally be sacrificing 30 kids.
In the most literal sense.
Yeah, literal. Like bring them out to the active volcano, push them in.
No, you just let Ralphie run around. Whoever survives, last 10 who survives gets to keep their lives. Ralphie the Buffalo kills the rest.
There you go.
Another really interesting thing is they didn't just lose not good players. They lost a lot of good players as well, to the point where like kids are going to USC. USC's not bad. Kids are going to Boise State. One kid's going to Michigan State. So there is a fallout from the way it was handled that it just impact the players who may not be of the Power 5 level. And Colorado sucks. They have like 37 players this year that have any talent. They have about 20 coming in after the summer enrollment, right? Because all these transfers have to come in. They're going to be awful this year. So hopefully everyone's got a little patience and enjoys the show a little bit more, because I think they were at a 4.5 win total. Deion Sanders had the spring game, and the Vegas number immediately dropped to 3.5 win total after watching the spring game. So, and then they lost 17 players the next day. So even if you get better talent, there's going to be a learning process there in Colorado.
Is Deion Sanders the cryptocurrency of college football coaches?
I think he's the John Ruiz of college football coaches. I think that's what you call him.
Okay.
So did you guys see Deion was complaining this weekend about only one player from an HBCU got drafted? And while I think his point is very valid, like he's got to understand how it looks that he's complaining about that right after he just like dumped Jackson State in like the most unceremonious way possible, right? Like the irony of that is hilarious.
I mean, is it surprising like that only one kid from an HBCU was drafted?
I don't know how many normally are, but
yeah. I mean,
Deion
there are a fair number of like small school kids that get drafted in later rounds, so maybe it is a small number. But I mean, when you say HBCU, my head doesn't go immediately to NFL caliber athletes. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of players out there that come from an HBCU, like professional Hall of Famers that we don't really think about. Like
Jerry Rice.
Pretty sure Strahan Rice. Deion Sanders did not come from an HBCU.
No, he certainly didn't.
No, he came from a really great school.
Are we sure?
Did I graduate from an HBCU?
All right. So according to Bing, the top 10 NFL players of all time from HBCUs are Jackie Slater,
Okay,
Shannon Sharp, Michael Strahan, Richard Dent, Art Shell, Willie Lanier, Steve McNair, Mel Blount, Jerry Rice, and Walter Payton.
It's a pretty good list.
Wow, we're all the white guys. Racist much? I'm just kidding.
One more thing I want to talk about the Deion Sanders thing, right? So he's in a tricky situation. I think we all agree he may not have handled it a lot. He's doing a lot for the television type program. And I understand at the end of the day, look, everyone loves the Wrexham story. Everyone's trying to capitalize on the same momentum that a good voice can put on to a struggling football club and get some momentum and then see if they can get some wins, right? It's an easy formula, and it's a very sellable formula with Deion Sanders at the helm, right? Because everyone likes him. He's very likable, right? And he's got a lot of bravado. My point is this. What the fuck is the point of spring practice if you're going to lose all your players, right? You're just wasting everyone's time. You've done all these conditioning drills and all these practices, and you lose 17 players the day after spring practice. Why did you have spring practice? No one's getting better. You're going to have the weakest two deep.
He said there's not enough dudes that transferred out of here. We're doing 2-a-days, 3-a-days. Let's get these kids the fuck out of here.
It doesn't make any sense. And I don't know if you've looked at the transfer portal, and I know I'm a big college football junkie. There is not much talent in there. And if he's looking to get new talent, he's rating all the people that Florida State is transferring out, taking all of them. And good on them. They should be an improvement, but they were going to be backups at Florida State, right? That's the high end of the transfer portal. There's no tackles out there. I'll like I said, I don't understand the point of him having spring practice. I think he's going to be I would be very patient if I was a Buffaloes fan. He may get the thing right in 2 or 3 years, but next year is going to be
it's going to be interesting to see how bad they are.
I think they're going to be worse next year, even with the better talent, because they just won't have enough depth. If anyone, Shedeur Sanders will be an improvement at the position.
Will he?
I would assume so. I think he's actually of a talent, right? Travis Hunter is freaking talented. I know of that for a fact. Travis Hunter will be going there, and then he will be drafted in the top 15, and then he will move on from Colorado. But I just think everyone in Colorado and all the hype, and I'm glad Deion's getting all this love. Hopefully it lasts if Deion has a bad year, which I think is inevitable. He wants 6 wins. If he gets 6 wins, I'll chug 6 beers on this podcast come January.
Somebody make a note.
You would chug 6 beers, period.
Well, I will do it in
6 more than normal.
Saturday.
I will do 6 beers in 6 minutes, kind of.
Guinnesses?
Do it.
No.
So this is a little bit of a pivot, but you mentioned Wrexham. Did you guys see that the Wrexham owners were asking Gareth Bale if he wanted to come out of retirement and come play for Wrexham? And he said, absolutely not.
Oh, wow. I saw something about Zlatan possibly going to Wrexham.
Well,
or their interest in trying to attract him there.
Gareth has come out and said, my priorities are Wales, golf, then soccer.
What does he need? A chipping green at the Wrexham field? That's 3 out of 3.
No, they're gonna have to get him I don't know, probably a membership at Augusta National.
Don't you mean St. Andrews?
No, I've been Augusta National.
Yeah, that is interesting considering it's a Welsh club too, and him being probably the most popular Welsh athlete. I can't name another one. So.
No, he's by far. Also, don't you think he's already got a membership at St. Andrews? For somebody that loves golf so much, aren't you going to do it where the sport was invented?
Yeah, probably.
And he's so close to home.
Do people from Wales and Scotland like each other, though? I feel like there's some animosity there, isn't there?
I have no idea. I don't even know where they are.
Wales is the bottom left, and Scotland's the whole top.
Yeah. And where's Ireland in all this?
It's the other island over, one to the left.
I thought there was a part of Ireland that was part of the UK island, like North Ireland or something.
Yeah, well,
the north part of the island is part of the
UK.
Yeah.
So I do kind of know where all those are. It's just really confusing.
I
is.
only know because I went there before that. I was Ted Lasso. How many countries are in this country?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh, I saw something.
here-
Sorry, I saw something that's funny the other day. It's like, why are there so many English accents? The whole country is like the size of Florida. Imagine if there were like 12 different accents in Florida that were like very different and notable.
There's close.
There's a
There's like
couple
2
There's way more than 2.
in Florida.
Yeah. You've got your standard American accent.
camera here.
Danny's not here. I think we're okay. You've got like central to North Florida, with like a little more southern, a little more country.
Yeah.
Right. Then you've got English with a Cuban accent. You've got English with a Venezuelan accent.
Oh, come
You've got
on. Get the fuck
English
out of
with
here.
that-
You're going to go through every fucking Latin
Yes!
country
Hey,
and say
yeah.
that's different.
Absolutely.
Don't forget about Cuban with the American accent.
Exactly. You've got the old Jewish population.
Oh,
Your
boy,
Oives. Yeah,
You have the
exactly.
Italians, gabagool, and all that.
Exactly.
Gabagool.
Exactly.
Those aren't, yeah, okay. Maybe
Al's not
Florida's the
amused
wrong
at all. Al's not amused by this
I hate-
game.
I hate this.
Al, how do you think they got their different
You got like a
accents in
9-year-old
England?
accent. You got like the accent on a 10-year-old. You got your
Ow.
accent on a 9-year-old who's almost 10.
Al, how do you think they got their accents in England? Like different parts of England were like either settled or invaded
know.
by
That's what I'm
different
asking.
European countries. Like it's people coming over that speak differently. That's how
Yeah,
you
but,
get
like,
accents.
I mean, you drive like 30 minutes down the road and you're somewhere where everyone speaks the same and it's very different than how everyone spoke where you just came from. That doesn't happen in the States.
I think it does. You drive if you're in Atlanta and you drive 45 minutes south, you're gonna.
It does get a little
What?
funny. It's more than 45 minutes south.
Okay.
It takes 45 minutes to get out of the perimeter just because of traffic. But
That's true.
yeah.
Anyway, I guess you guys aren't as impressed with that. but
I am, man. I am. Scouse accent. And they got the Birmingham accents, and
Birmingham.
it is weird. It is weird that it is not a very big country, and they have a lot. But there's a lot of people, right? And they have a lot of sports. Like if you think about the Florida comparison, can you imagine if there was like a whole professional league in the state of Florida? We had 130 baseball teams competing to get to the Premier League of baseball. It's like the Deerfield Deer and like the Miami Marauders like facing
You might
off
be
and
onto something.
not get relegated. It would be awesome. There would be 19 people in the stand. It would be way too many people.
Well, you got to make it based on like race or ethnicity or something, just to like really get Americans involved in something new. So it's got to be like country based, like nationality, like
Oh, should
Colombian
we do the
contingent
accents?
versus the yeah,
The Italian American gabagools, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah, versus the old
Okay.
Jewish broads. Yeah.
I could be in for that. I could be in for that. Very hyper localized.
He's a fan base. Oh,
So, it's been a minute since I've been on, but if you guys have talked about this, we don't have to talk about it. But we did a lot of talking on Lamar Jackson. Did anybody address the Lamar Jackson versus Kirk Cousins stats?
No,
Oh,
we
yeah,
haven't. But I'd love to hear it.
Oh, well, I don't have it up, but
what's the
Like-
general gist of it?
yeah, no, there's just a meme going around that was comparing them over like the last 3 seasons, and that Kirk Cousins has outperformed Lamar Jackson in the last 3 seasons. And
That including rushing staff? And is it the same number of games?
it was no. It also had that like Lamar Jackson had played less games due to injury.
Mm-hmm.
3 injuries in 3 seasons, and I really wish I could pull it up. I can't find it though, but it was like 3 pass. It was just like he had more passing TDs and a better passer rating, and over the last 3 seasons combined, I think.
Kirk Cousins did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Kirk Cousins also had Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen and
Dalvin Cook.
yeah. Whereas Lamar Jackson was.
They just drafted a receiver, and I still can't name 2 receivers on their team.
OBJ.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Odell Beckham Jr. They got him some weapons now. I think that
Yeah, Rashad Bateman, Odell Beckham Jr., and Zay Flowers is a solid combo.
And then you add in Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but Kirk Cousins also is like very paid, and he was really well paid. Like he was extremely paid for the time period, and I think it was almost all guaranteed. So it may not have been as much as possible, but I think with the evolving quarterback room, I don't think I get what you're saying. It's shocking, but Kirk Cousins isn't bad, right? Everyone knows you don't fuck with Kirk Cousins at 3:35 p.m.
I just like it was in my opinion. I believe that somebody picked Kirk Cousins to like make this meme comparison for shock value because they didn't compare him to Patrick Mahomes, or they didn't compare him to y'all haven't seen it yet, but the fantastic Falcons quarterback, whoever that may be this season.
Matt White? Mike White?
Mike White's at the Dolphins, right?
Yeah, he's a Dolphin.
For now.
He's gonna get a lot of starts this year, most likely.
I just really thought that everybody would have seen that meme. It was kind of everywhere for like a couple days, and now I Google it and I can't find it.
No, I haven't seen it. Can we talk about the Pat Mahomes deal, by the way? I know that was, a year or 2 ago that he signed a 10-year contract for, pretty reasonable money. He's a dummy, right?
So the evolving quarterback room, right? Like it's going to end up where Joe Burrow is going to get paid $15 million more a year than Pat Mahomes, and that may not be guaranteed, but he's going to eclipse that $50 million. Him and Herbert most likely. But I think you take the money when you get the money, and the more guaranteed. I'm sure you can restructure as well as time goes on. If you're a Pat Mahomes type and you start making a stink, then Kansas City will probably.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's true. But I mean, I guess the way I look at it is these quarterbacks go out and they sign these massive contracts that are record-setting, and then 2 years later they're average pay in the league, and that happens, over 4 or 5 years, and Mahomes is going to be getting paid bottom third money as the best quarterback in the game.
This is probably a really unpopular opinion, but his deal was 10-year, $450 million. $450 million is generational wealth. Could he have gotten more? Yeah, probably. But he also has endorsement deals and all kinds of other shit. Take the $450 million, like Matt said, get paid when you can. But also, he's then not crippling his team, where he becomes, Russell Wilson, where you're playing with nobody around you, and you look terrible. Brady did this all the time, right? He would constantly restructure his deal so that he could have players around him and he could win. Don't be greedy and say I need $500 million instead of $450. Leave the extra 50. What's an extra $50 million? We've got $450 million. Leave some of the money for your team to be good.
Sounds like about 10% of your income. But also, did the Patriots really spend that money wisely that they owed Brady? You know what I mean? Brady took a pay cut, and I guess they got Randy Moss for a couple of years.
They got 6 rings and shit too. It was pretty cool.
But
all they did okay.
But the whole thing was how much they got for so little. So it's they didn't spend. They were able to go out and spend $50 million on.
I don't think they gave him $1 million a year, Al. I do think they probably took 20% of his paycheck, and you can invest in more talent, maybe a better tackle.
Just keeping guys. Yeah. You're not losing the core of your defense every year or whatever.
And he always had people who could catch until the end. Julian Edelman's the best safety security blanket I've ever seen. That dude is always open at 6 yards, 7 yards.
Wes Welker.
Danny Woodhead. Wait a
Danny-
second. I think I'm onto something here. Bunch of
Hey,
5'8" white dudes.
If it ain't broke, don't fix
Hey,
it.
And you got your opportunities lie ahead of you.
nah, I'm like half an inch too tall. If he wants 5'8" white dudes, missed it by that much.
Did you guys see that in basketball, for the first time ever, we have a seatagami? You guys are familiar with what a scoregami is? It's a seatagami. It is the first time in basketball semifinals history where every seed is represented. So we've got the 1 seed. That is Denver. Number 2 seed is Boston. 3 is Philadelphia. 4 is Phoenix, I think. 5 is I'm trying to remember all this. 5 is New York. 6 is Golden State. 7 is the Lakers, and 8 are the Heat. All 8 seeds are represented into the semifinals. Don't have anything interesting to say about it, but I thought that was kind of weird. I thought that's kind of cool. And it goes into the bigger picture that the playoffs in basketball and hockey are friggin' awesome, right? We've got big upsets outside of this being maybe the greatest sports week in South Florida history, between the Panthers and the Heat and the Marlins sweeping the Cubs in the same weekend. Like, it's been awesome, but it's really been exciting sports, all things considered. I'll leave open the floor unless you guys want to talk specifically to a sport, but
well,
I thought it was
first off, seatagami, are we reviewing Danny's Pornhub search history?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I thought I had to get it out. But yeah, the hockey, we should start with hockey because there's been 3 game 7s. Third one that just ended tonight, and then the 2 yesterday. Game 7 playoff hockey is probably the best thing in all of sports. I love it so much, especially when it goes to OT. So the Panthers going to OT in the first of these 3 games with the Bruins. First off, forcing a game 7 was incredible.
Yeah,
Boston was up 3-1.
Yeah.
It seems like that one game was like, oh, hey, at least we got one. We didn't get swept. And then they win 3 in a row after that. So they had a 2-0 lead, almost going into the third. I think in the last 2 minutes of the second, Boston got one back. So it was a 1-goal lead. And then the first 8 minutes into the third period, very quick.
It was faster than that because they had 1 minute and 15 left on a penalty kill to start the third period, and they scored on that penalty. So it was within the first minute.
Yeah, within the first minute, but then they scored another goal to take the lead, not that far after that either. And then the Panthers, whenever you pull a goalie in hockey, it's your Hail Mary, it's your lateral play, essentially. You're going to throw a hitch and you're going to toss it around a bunch. And eventually you're going to toss it out of bounds or the other team's going to get it or you're going to get tackled and the game's over. It very rarely works. But, you keep the forecheck pressure up and you keep possession and the goalie can get off and get that 6th attacker on. You have an opportunity, and the Panthers seized on a good rebound, put it in the net and forced overtime. And then in overtime, they did their thing. And Boston being the top team in the NHL this year, not only this year, but I think the winningest NHL team of all time.
Most points ever. Yeah.
Then shitting the bed in the very first round of the playoffs. Fantastic. Chef's kiss.
It happened the last time a team did that. Tampa Bay scored the most points.
Oh, the President's Cup curse is real. It's I think for 10 years in a row, the top team, the President's Cup winner, which is the team who finishes with the most points in the regular season, has been eliminated in the first round. Or has won the Stanley Cup. Right?
I don't think it's first round. They haven't made the finals. But yeah, and I mean, you guys know I'm not a huge hockey fan. Obviously the Panthers are my team. My parents literally live 5 minutes from the stadium. It's super convenient to get over there. But I was into that game last night, man. I was nervous in overtime. It was fun. I don't know that I'm gonna be a Panthers season ticket holder next year or anything, but it definitely sucked me in.
Yeah, like I like hockey, and I don't think I'm ever gonna watch it regularly during the regular season. But as we approach playoffs, as the playoffs start, I like to check in on these games, on the series, and then definitely as we get to Game 7s, I'm always like, that's quite appealing watching. The second game was the Kraken, the upstart Kraken at last year's champion Avalanche, and the Kraken won in Game 7, and they never trailed in that one. So that's your last year's expansion team coming out year 2 and knocking off the champions to advance in that round. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Here's a hot take for you. And all the legendary sweaters in hockey, I still think the Seattle Kraken sweater is the best one. That black and teal number with the anchor and that S on the front, I was rooting for the Kraken, and I you can associate this with whatever you want because they had the better shirts. I was loving the sweater. I love the storyline. I know Colorado last year, and I know they're super talented. But watching it, I was hooked on both of those games yesterday. And I'm not a particularly big hockey fan. I'm going to root for the local team, but I was equally as interested in Colorado, Seattle, rooting for that dope kit or sweater. Sorry.
Yeah. There's a lot of good hockey sweaters, man. That's probably the league with the best uniforms.
For sure. No, there's great sweaters, and the legendary ones are awesome. I love Edmonton's dumb old orange and blues. Like
the Calgary Flames red jerseys, those are sick. Yeah, pretty much all of them are great.
Classic.
Yeah, the Maple Leafs. It's all good.
I thought that was a great game, and that one felt like Seattle was losing the whole game, even though they never gave up the lead because Grubauer, the netminder, was getting attacked by all sides, and he had like 32 saves, let one through. It was freaking great. It was a really cool game.
Love it. McGrubauer. It should be like SNL skit. And then tonight, I don't know if you guys were watching it all, but the Rangers-Devils Game 7 was going on. And I saw a stat about midway through the second period when I think it was still 0-0. And it said the Rangers, in the games they've won in this series, have averaged 5 goals a game. And in the games they've lost, they've averaged 0.65 goals a game. And then the Devils proceeded to score 4 in a 4-0 final. That's kind of fun to see. Sorry to my buddy Matt, who is a listener of the pod and a Rangers fan. Sorry it didn't work out for you, bud. But entertaining Game 7 hockey is always fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, the other series were Vegas kind of ran away. Looked like Dallas kind of ran away with it too.
You know what's really interesting about that Rangers Devils series is that the road team won the first 5. Am I correct about that, or is it the first 4? Which seems like it should never happen. But I don't know if that's like a situation where like going from New York to New Jersey, maybe you just slept in your own bed. It wasn't even like
right.
Once you just
true.
Yeah, I'm going to drive to the game. What is it? 2 hours, a 90-minute drive? Sure. I'm going to I'll take myself. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's comfort
Take your
in that.
gear on the subway with you.
It was very odd to see that the road team won the first 4 games. I mean, that may be normal in hockey. I'm not a big hockey aficionado, but it seems very odd to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's very common.
I was reading that not just that series, but a lot of the other series too, right? Like Florida 1-1 in Boston in the first 2, and then Boston came down to Florida and 1-1. Like there were a lot of road teams winning. Which, speaking of which, to kind of get back to our roots a little bit, like none of us really handicap hockey or basketball too much. But the one thing I love to do is I feel like series prices swing way too much based on one game. So if you get like a favorite that loses game 1, that series price will swing just way too far, and you can get the favorite at like a much better price. Now you got to be careful if it's something like, Jimmy Butler broke his ankle and is going to be out for the rest of the series. You don't want to bet that team or whatever, but
is his ankle broken?
No, they said he's questionable for tomorrow. No, just using that like as an example. But yeah, the series prices will swing so far after one game. If you get a series that's like 1-1 coming home, you can have a bet on each team after each game at like plus money. It's beautiful.
Damn.
That's not always. It depends on the teams. But.
Yeah, you know what's funny because you mentioned that is as soon as the Panthers won that series, my first thought was fuck yeah, fuck Boston. My second thought was I bet you could make a really smart bet on fading the Panthers in the next round. Taking the Maple Leafs to win that series. Although I don't know what the actual line is, it's probably doesn't have much value. But if the Panthers go out and win like game one, I would assume they're going to have a hangover after taking out the league's best team. And it's kind of a downer, so I don't want to encourage anyone to bet it, but it feels like a smart move.
The Panthers are plus 155 and the Maple Leafs are minus 175.
Yeah, it's not great.
So I'd wait on that one because I do think Toronto's the smart money here.
Which is funny too because Toronto has their failure demons, like super failure demons, right? Like they are super going to shit the bed in this playoff. But the fact that Florida beat Boston, they're got to be licking their chops.
Well, Toronto hadn't won a series in 25 years, right? Or 24 years. They finally lifted. They got that monkey off their back.
And I think they even won the President's Cup a couple years ago. So that adds to the curse.
I would totally bet the over in both those games: the Kraken versus the Stars and the Panthers versus the Maple Leafs.
What's the number at? Are you saying over in
over 6.5 goals on the Panthers Maple Leafs, and over 5.5 with the Kraken and the Stars? And the Kraken has been Stars also, or part of the run that I've been on. These are some teams that I've been able to like rely on high scoring games. The Devils were a good one for me too, although I bet the goals on one of the games in the Rangers versus the Rangers, and it was like a 3-goal game. I totally lost all my money.
So you're saying hit the overs tomorrow? A couple overs?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to take the over on both those. I think that the Kraken Stars, I do believe that'll go over 5.5. And the Panthers Maple Leafs, why not?
You know what is a fun thing? A side topic is that in the Panthers Maple Leafs games, you probably have the two most exciting American hockey players at one time. Austin Matthews is from California, I believe, and Matt Tkachuk is from Arizona. So if you're not a hockey fan, but you want to watch some good old American offense, that's awesome. You could watch that because I think that's probably the two biggest or the biggest name American offensive players in hockey. I know Austin Matthews is considered just like one of the best players in the world, but Matthew Tkachuk looked amazing. Amazing. I don't know shit about hockey, right? But I was impressed. I know Austin Matthews is just a name.
Yeah. What I noticed about the hockey playoffs here is typically there's a lot of like perennial teams that make deep runs, and you end up having easy teams to root against if you're not a fan of those teams specifically. And a lot of those teams got booted in the very first round. The Rangers, the Kings, the Lightning, the Bruins, the Avalanche. Like, I don't hate any of these teams that are left. I guess maybe like the Hurricanes and Devils, I don't care a lot about, but like, I'm not going to be upset if either of them lift the cup. And like, it would be a fun story if literally any other team lifts the cup, Like, this is a very fun field that remains.
Chris, I just bet both of those while we were talking, both of those overs. So let's go goals.
I bet them both, and then I parlayed them.
Ooh, nice. I like it.
Really believing in them. I like it. I got nothing else in hockey unless you guys have something else.
I just took the money line for Phoenix at plus 105. Yeah, we'll see how that works out.
Against Denver?
Yeah, they had like a 4-point lead, I was like, yeah, this is going in my favor.
Is anyone winning more in basketball right now than Commissioner Silver? He's like, okay, let me think about this. So I got New York, Miami. That's okay, right? Maybe we'll play into some nostalgia, but you got New York, you got the Mecca involved. And he's like, what else do I got? He's like, how about a little Golden State Lakers in the second round? How does that make you feel? And you got Philly, Boston. Now, Denver is a wagon, but they do have Kevin Durant, but everyone's like not paying attention to that series because it's not as exciting as the other three. And you got Kevin freaking Durant, who's going to probably lose. I think Commissioner Silver is having a party about the teams that are in this.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sacramento would be it's a fun story, but it's a tough sell to get people to tune in for that, I think. And kind of the same with Memphis. And now that those teams, and definitely with Minnesota, but yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a good field for the commission to be excited about. As for the actual series themselves, I think they're all pretty intriguing. Hopefully Jimmy Butler can get healthy and play because that makes that series a lot more fun. Boston Philly is exciting. Denver Phoenix, I actually like that series. I think the Suns level it up this tonight. Actually, they're playing right now, aren't they?
Sunshine just played. He took the money line plus 105.
Live bet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the Suns are up a point right now in the third, and then Lakers Golden State. I feel like that one's probably not going to be as good a series as people want it to be. I really feel like the Lakers are not very good.
Oh, I disagree. I think the Lakers have been playing awesome at the end of the year. They've gotten significantly better by the moves they made. They're also a really good defensive team, right? So I get it. Steph Curry's a problem, but he's one of those things where you kind of let Steph do Steph if you can shut down everyone else. When I was watching the Golden State series, the center play was the big difference. Sabonis is a very skilled player, but he got crushed on the rebounding side. I know, Al, you hate Sabonis. I'll give you your ground. What do you think about DeMontis Sabonis, Al?
Well, yeah, I don't hate him, but I was watching that game and I was like, what is he doing? Like what good things is he offering this team? Because he's not rebounding. He's not being covered from the free throw line out, and he's literally I just saw him miss jumpers from there. I don't know what it is. Very much office space. What is it you do here kind of thing? I don't know what he does.
Reports.
Yeah. But Kevon Looney, I think, averaged 19 rebounds a game in that series. He was hugely important in a weird way.
I don't know if he's an exceptional rebounder or if the balls just seem to find their way to him. Because Golden State's ball, when they are shooting bricks, their balls are flying everywhere. These rebounds are happening near the 3-point line, and it's just
they do have loose balls
every time. It's very frustrating as an opponent, I assume.
I think that Lakers series, I kind of am tempted to lay the money on the Lakers to win at plus 155. Golden State may win, but I do think there's good value there because not based on LeBron, but I just think they're a good defensive team and they can make things very awkward. They played Steph Curry is a great equalizer here, but the rest of that team is good. I'm not going to talk shit about Golden State. Sorry. I just think
you can get Lakers plus 125 to win the series.
I just saw plus 155 a second ago.
Oh, that's a lot better.
Oh, wait. Why we're still on
125. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong line. Yeah. I don't like it as much at 125, but it would be an interesting one to consider. And let's go to this. If Jimmy Butler is hurt, it's really interesting to consider the Knicks plus 130. You may want to put a small unit on that just in case he is hurt, because that series is going to get a lot sloppier if not.
So, I don't typically bet series prices, but I assume they're going to update these after. I know Philly beat Boston earlier today.
Crazy game.
So they're going to keep that up somewhere because I would love to bet Boston to win the series now.
It's not going to be a good line, buddy. So Philadelphia did win tonight, and that's amazing. But they were a giant dog in general in the series because we don't know when Joel Embiid's coming back. And that's nice. Philadelphia won that game. That's really nice. If Embiid's not playing, I'm not worried. Boston will carry that one home. If Embiid gets back in, yes, that gets the number a lot closer.
So I have a book that has the new lineup and the series price. Even after that game, the Celtics are minus 180 and 76ers are plus 160.
If you want to consider Philly, that's at least interesting. You get a little juice out of it.
So going back,
one thing I saw.
go ahead.
One thing I saw about NBA betting in the playoffs over the past 2 years is that the team that wins straight up covers against the spread like 158 and 14, so like 158 and 16. So if you like a dog, bet a money line. If you like a favorite, obviously take the spread. Don't be dicking around with favorites on the money line. Is that going to keep up forever? Probably not, but it's been a cash cow.
I actually think that that's super interesting because I think in the NBA, favorites covering is actually kind of built into the way the games end, right? Like if a favorite's up by 2 or 3, the other team's going to start fouling them and put them on the free throw line. And it's like built in that the team that's winning gets extra points before the game ends. So it makes it easier to cover.
Well, that makes perfect sense with taking either the money line or the spread. You know, like that favorite on the spread, money line on the dog.
Yeah.
NBA money lines. So right now, Phoenix is ahead by 6 points, and I can now get the Nuggets plus 150.
Hey,
I'm facing this all night.
So wait, what did you take the Suns before?
Yeah, plus 105.
Oh, nice. Little arbitrage.
A small amount of win, but unless Denver comes back and wins it, then that's real fun.
I'm putting a little bit more money on Denver. It's just I'm such a plus money whore.
Yeah. So anything on the series you guys want to talk about? I do think the Philadelphia-Boston series is interesting. Philly did win tonight. Harden was really good as far as scoring points. I thought his offense, I don't know if you guys watched it, but the offense was dreadful. He held on the ball for 17 seconds and then made a play to the basket every time. It was very hard to watch. I still think if Embiid doesn't come back, it doesn't matter. I think that series is over in 6. And Boston walks away with that and gets some rest before a really hard-fought series against either New York or Miami.
Did you guys see James Harden's pregame out?
No, I didn't, but I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah, you're going to want to.
I really want him to just win one. How is he as a person?
Love strippers.
Yeah. Is he wearing JNCOs? James Harden.
He's wearing like fleece JNCOs. He looks like Sully from Monsters Inc.
Oh my God, that is.
I can't find the picture, so Matt, if you are,
I found it here.
So inclined to share it.
I'll share it.
Someone said the Cookie Monster is going to cook the Celtics tonight. The Cookie Monster is here.
Wow.
Oh
my God. Look at JNCOs are back, baby.
Yeah. I don't know. So is it more Sully or is it more Cookie Monster?
No, because you put Sully in my mind, that's what it is.
Well, I like the Eastern European track jacket on top of the Cookie Monster slacks.
Yeah.
It's a really nice look. He's like Slovenian Cookie Monster.
It looks like it's uncomfortable as shit the way he's walking, but it actually looks very
Do you think the waist is tight, or is he holding the waist up inside of the track jacket in order to make the whole outfit work?
Like his track jacket has those like thumb holes,
exactly.
like your dress pants do to keep your shirt tucked in, but to keep his pants
That's
up.
exactly what it is. That track jacket.
You gotta wonder, like, who or what is he sneaking in both those pant legs?
Ooh.
Strippers.
That's
Hey, girl, you just walk every time I walk.
One holding on to each leg like his legs are stripper poles.
That guy's an MVP at the club. Everyone knows this.
That's gonna ruin the next time my daughter does that to me.
Sorry.
So I'm gonna Google it. James Harden, Magic City.
He has his jersey retired in multiple clubs.
Well, it's definitely there now.
because he throws so many bands. The boy throws bands around. He's a stuff.
Fans will make him dance.
That's what I mean. You guys want to talk Miami, New York? I didn't think that was a wholly interesting game. As a fan, I thought I'm glad Miami won. I cannot understand why everyone thinks the Knicks are that good. I do not get it. I do get it when everyone thinks Milwaukee's good or Philadelphia with Joel Embiid or Boston. I think there's 3 teams that are really good in the East, and Miami and New York are not any of those 3. But the Nick Love is befuddling to me. And yesterday was a perfect encapsulation of that game. Jalen Brunson, they let him do what he wanted. He got into the paint, shot the same elbow jumper 100 times, and he was fine at it, but didn't shoot great. They can't shoot the 3, especially without Julius Randle. They let Obi Toppin shoot 100 threes yesterday, and they killed themselves by shooting the 3. I don't know if you saw the numbers, but they were dreadful from the field. And I think Spoelstra outcoached Tibbs yesterday. I think that's all it was. I don't think the Heat played particularly well. Everyone's complaining on social media saying, well, the Knicks shot bad. I'm like, the Heat didn't shoot great either. They shot both average.
So there's 2 things, right? So, you've got a 5-8 seed matchup here, right? But we're talking about 3 games over an 82-game season. That's the difference between these 2 spots. So these are not very uneven teams by any means. I don't think anyone on the Knicks roster intimidates me if I'm the Heat, and the Heat have a much better coach. So if Jimmy can be healthy for the majority of the series, I think it's very possible that the Heat come out.
So I get 2 things on this real quick. First is I saw somebody suggest that Jimmy, even if he could technically go for game 2, should sit because you've already stolen one in New York. Right? Like at worst, you're coming home 1-1. So what if you just let him sit and, maybe you still win game 2, who knows, but let him rest. So I think that's interesting. And then on a silly note, has there ever been a bigger discrepancy in coach attractiveness than in the Miami, New York series? Because Tibbs looks rough and Spo looks great.
What is Tibbs doing with the hair? Take it home. Take it home. You're not I understand trying to fake it with the comb over. That's like a wisp over, just like a passing breeze of hair. It's
just so like bad. Jeff Van Gundy when he was there. It's like something about being in New York City makes these dudes bald and think they're not.
Jeff Van Gundy has way more hair than Tibbs.
Tibbs has 12 hairs left. Take it home, brother. Come on.
Is Homer Simpsoning it up there?
Yeah, hang on. I want to see if I can find a picture of this.
But was there a more relatable moment than yesterday? Jimmy Butler got his ankle stepped on by Josh Hart. It was a play in the heat of the battle. Everyone was mad. It's a basketball play. It happens. They focus. The camera gets on Spoelstra, and he's just like this. And then he sees him hobbling, and he just mouths the word fuck. Mouths the word fuck. Yeah. The internet loved it, and I've never felt so similar to Eric Spoelstra than in that moment. Oh, shit. I can't believe I'm going to lose him. And Jimmy just decoyed the rest of the game, stand in the corner, couldn't shoot a ball.
Well, I mean, that's another thing. Why did he play? Why didn't Spo pull him?
Yeah. Because Jimmy probably said, don't take me out. He's a crazy.
But who coaches this team?
Jimmy Butler. Himmy.
Okay. Himmy.
I feel like Spo caught some serious, shit when he first started coaching. That was when LeBron got there, basically, right? And it's a lot of people were unsure about Spoelstra, but he's, I think, definitely proven himself as probably a top 3, if not very top coach in the NBA. I mean, he's probably behind Pop, but that's about it.
Yeah, Pop's a different level of coach as far as acumen, but he's also been blessed with good players. But Spo's great. Spo, sorry, I'm doing a bad job of talking. The fourth quarter of game 5, look at that hair. Unbelievable. What is Thibodeau doing? The fourth quarter.
Sorry, real quick. I'll let you finish your point. But have you guys seen the movie The Heartbreak Kid? Rob Corddry says his wife wants him to grow out his bangs.
Yes.
This is what that looked like. His wife wants him to grow out his bangs. Anyway, sorry, Matt. The fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter of Game 5 against Milwaukee was some of the best coaching I've ever watched. We were down by 16 at the end of the third quarter, right? And the game felt like it was running away. Spo started running Bam Adebayo as the point guard. And what that did was bring Lopez out of the paint, and Jimmy and Adebayo switched places. But the big thing was Lopez got out, and Jimmy started running the actions underneath the basket, and it worked like 7 times in a row. And Budenholzer wouldn't call a timeout. And now it's really sad. Like, everyone was dunking on Budenholzer, but his brother passed away during the middle of Game 4. But it's good to know that Milwaukee still has 3 timeouts remaining. Just in case you guys were wondering at home, Milwaukee still has 3 timeouts remaining.
And
so,
they always will.
Yeah, they will. Those timeouts still remain. But that was the most brilliant stroke of coaching in a game where it was getting away from you quick. And Spo was a good coach. He's really brilliant. The way he ran Adebayo as the point guard and let Jimmy do the off-ball action, it worked over and over again. And then they just got in Giannis's head. I'm very impressed with this Heat team that was been shit all year. It's a different level right now. And going back to my bigger point, I don't understand why everyone thinks New York is that great at basketball. I don't get it. Like, Jalen Brunson's a really good player. He's better than I expected, especially with that contract. He's probably underpaid when I thought he was going to be overpaid, which is the biggest, like, hey, way to go, buddy. But they're not particularly great. Like, it could be a 7-game series, but the way the Knicks fans are like, oh, we're clearly the better team. I'm like, in what world? You guys never win shit. You're like the worst version of the Philadelphia 76ers who get to the second round but talk the most shit of anyone I've ever heard. Go win or shut the fuck up. That's all I got. I'm going to stop talking about New York now, but
I love it.
You're right. You know
Love
it,
it.
though.
I do think, but the Lakers, Warriors, maybe it's a little more overhyped and the player value is better, but I'm going to watch it. Your boy's going to be up.
I don't know, man. I really, I think the Lakers are gonna just run away. I mean, LeBron over there wearing those grown ass pants.
Oh.
I mean, like,
Oh.
You don't fuck with somebody who wears grown ass pants. That's what I'm saying.
So that's a Jay-Z lyric, which makes me feel better about it, but it's still so cringy.
What is you quoting Jay-Z? One king quoting another, huh?
Yeah, I guess.
Mr. What is Russell Wilson
Mr.
called?
Unlimited.
Oh my god, that's a fucking like WWF wrestler name or some shit.
It's an amazing name. It's the coolest nickname of all time, but it's self-given, so it's less cool.
I said on this podcast like a month and a half ago that LeBron was the Russell Wilson of the NBA because he just does cringy stuff. I did.
Yeah, okay.
I did, and then you
if I didn't agree with you then, I agree
stole
with
my
you
line. For our text messages. But yes, I did say that because LeBron has never in his life, like, he's been the chosen one since he was 12. No one in his life has ever told him, like, bro, you can't do that. It's not cool. Like, he does whatever he wants. And so he never like had to learn like not to do this shit.
I think it just comes out for me, especially when he's like trying to be hard. And I'm like, nobody's buying this. No one's buying what you're selling. And, Matt, for your sake, I hope it's a great series, but I can almost guarantee I'm not going to watch a single second of it because every game is going to start at like 11.
Oh, no, it's going to be late as shit. I understand the investment I'm doing. I'm going to have to neglect my family, neglect my responsibilities, but that's the sacrifices you need to make in order to watch great sports, baby. Sometimes sports, LeBron over family. Everyone knows this.
Who wears the pants now?
My wife doesn't wear grown ass pants. I don't even know what that does. I don't even know what I'm talking about. You guys want to talk anything else on basketball?
I think that's about
You guys want to pretend to be horse racing experts for like 5 minutes? I don't know if anyone knows anything, but Kentucky Derby is here, and it's that one time a year where every asshole, including myself, has all the knowledge on horse racing, even though I've watched a combined 0 minutes, but I follow Randy Moss. Do you guys know Randy Moss, the horse racing expert?
Oh,
not the football player.
The other Randy Moss.
Yes,
the white one.
White Randy Moss. Go give White Randy Moss a follow.
I had an idea, and you guys let me know what you think. But the thought was, so there's 20 horses,
It looks
or 20,
looks like
20?
Forte is the favorite as of 4:00 today.
So I was gonna say we should just draft all the horses, or just randomly assign the horses to everyone, and then if your horse wins, you win. You pass out a beer. If your horse loses, then you don't pass out a beer. That sounds like too much work.
Yeah.
I love that, by the way. I just was in the other room. So.
Okay.
So I don't know, Al. I know you follow some people in the horse racing community. I know we.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to, I'm going to like blow smoke up all your asses and pretend like I'm a horse racing expert. I know I follow a couple people whose opinions I think are pretty useful. One is Adam Thompson from bookies.com. He often puts out some horse race his plays. I'm sure he'll put them out for the the Derby and the Triple Crown. Is it Hank Greenberg?
Hammer him, Hank.
Is that still around?
The classic.
Yeah, he's been historically good at the horse picks. So I'll usually see what those guys are up to, and then make my own decisions. But I'm a big proponent of doing box bets. It's more expensive, but you're more likely to hit.
How's that work?
Box bet, basically, you're taking, however many horses you're picking. You're basically betting all combinations instead of one specific combination. So, you got your trifecta as your first, your win place show. And you bet, 4 horses to win place or show. That's, 12 combinations or whatever it is, win place show. So, $1, $12 is a dollar bet on all of those combinations. But if it hits, you're looking at
the round robin of the gambling world.
I was just gonna say that, Matt. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. That's
Sorry,
right.
You're good.
It's essentially a round robin when you box, and I agree with that 100%. I'm gonna have so many boxes, but
I love me some box.
Yeah, I love box.
The I had 2 notes I wanted to make about this. I'm trying to refresh my memory here. As to what horses are the smart ones to consider. So this guy, Todd Pletcher, is, I think he is the trainer for Mo Donegal, who won the Derby last year. The big name in horse racing is Bob Baffert, but Bob Baffert has been suspended for last year's Derby and this year's Derby as well. He, sold his horses or loaned out his horses to other trainers to try and get them Derby ready. There's one horse that is still in it. Reincarnate is a Bob Baffert horse that Tim Yakchin took over to train. It's a 50-1 horse. So if you're a proponent of betting on Bob Baffert horses, asterisk on this one, long odds also, but that's one that maybe if you're going to pick a long shot, that one makes sense. And then Pletcher, I think, has 3 or 4 horses running, and those are, I think, the biggest favorites anyway. So that's all I got.
I've heard if you want to put a box together, there's value in putting 2 fills in some boxes. It's medium odds at 12-1, so there's a little more juice there. Keeping them in vertical wagers, right? Making sure when you box, put it as one of the boxing options. It does seem like there's the has and the has-nots this year. There's a couple single digits, right? Forte, Angel of Empire, and Tap Trice. But getting a little value from 2 fills in some sort of win place or win place show box or place show box for that matter, there may be some value there.
Yeah. I guess the only other thing I have to say about the Derby is, what was the name of the horse that won last year? Like Cheap Trick or something?
It was the longest odd. I forgot who it was. Let me go.
That fucking horse, man. It blew up my trifecta. If that horse did not finish in the top 3, I would have hit my trifecta. But instead, the longest odds ever wins the fucking
Rich
Derby.
Strike.
And pulling a ticket worth nothing.
Rich Strike.
Rich
It's
Strike.
71.
Yeah, I think it was like almost 80-1 at the gate. So pretty wild.
What is,
If you had a trifecta with that horse in it, you had a very.
do you guys want to draft horses really quick, or is that's just too laborious?
We can do whoever takes first pick gets the shortest odd and the longest odd, and we work our way in. You guys want to do
Sure.
that? Might be easier.
I'm
I'm gonna use this.
gonna interrupt you guys real quick.
Odds.
If anybody's live betting on this Denver Phoenix game, like right now, you can get your odds like Denver money line plus 160. Durant has 4 fouls. They haven't started the fourth quarter, and Chris Paul's out.
Out with fouls or injury?
Out with an injury is what it looks like.
Ooh.
I'm just
All right,
putting it out there.
Chris, let's ride.
I at one point I got him at plus 210. And I had a heyday. I can't bet anymore. I'm cut off tonight.
All right. So, who's picking first?
We
1, 2, 3.
There's,
we
Chris.
should flip a coin or something, right?
all right, let's do a random number generator. Okay.
Oh.
As I see it, Chris goes first. Andy goes second. I go third, and Al goes fourth. Chris, pick a
Okay.
horse.
All right, I'm going to take Forte and Reincarnate. That's how it works, right, Al? That's what you said?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, Forte and Reincarnate.
I guess so.
Love
Yeah.
it. I love it for you.
Andy is going next. So he's just taking the odds, right? So Andy's got Tap at Trice.
And
Well, yeah, he can pick. I mean, if you want a longer shot and you want to get, like 2 20-1s instead of a 50-1 and an 8-1 or whatever it is, you can pick a different horse and I'll just match up whichever
Yeah.
one corresponds
I'll
to
take Tap It Trice and Sun Thunder.
Ooh, what a good name, Sun Thunder.
Sun.
that. Sun Thunder.
Let's see. Doesn't really matter. Let me take one quick look here. I'm going to go weird. I'm going to go verifying and 2 fills. Can I do that?
Yeah, why not? I had a feeling you were going to go 2 fills.
Well, does that work? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, sure. Why not? Who gives a fuck? What did you say it was? Verifying and 2 fills?
2 medium odds.
Then I will do.
There's a big favorite out there still, bud, if you want it.
Yeah. You thinking the Angel of Empire? Is that
Yeah,
what
I
you're
mean,
thinking?
from what I can tell, it's 8-1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I have to pick that. Although the post number is not very great. But I'll do Angel of Empire and Hit Show.
I feel like Danny should get Derma Sodiate.
Or wait, do I have to? I should take a 51.
No,
Let me take.
it doesn't.
No, you're good, Al. Take whatever you want.
Okay.
I agree with Sunshine, though.
Yeah, Danny
Let's
should
give Danny
Danny
practical move. And what does Danny look like? Does he look like Lord Miles? Does he look like?
I think he would take. Oh, I was gonna say. I think he'd take Ray's Cane because it sounds like country something.
Okay.
But that's,
I
is a
thought you were
longer
going to say it
shot,
sounds
so.
like the restaurant Raising Cane's and he loves his tendies.
Who
That's
doesn't
also
love
true.
tendies? Honestly.
All right, he's getting Raising.
I prefer not to
Cane.
call them tendies, but
All right. What's your go-to bourbon on Kentucky Derby Day? Do you have a bourbon a cocktail, something that you normally do on Kentucky Derby Day?
Mint julep.
Well, so people hate on mint juleps, but it's basically delicious mint tea and bourbon. It's great. So if I'm getting a bourbon specifically for the Derby, it's going to be
Yeah, you got to go
Woodford,
Wood, right?
but I usually have makers on hand, which is also perfectly acceptable.
Just to drop some bourbon out there. Like for something like the Derby, I'm gonna drink my expensive bourbon.
What's your expensive bourbon? What's your go-to expensive bourbon then?
Well, right now it's like I just buy an expensive bottle and work my way through it.
Okay. Like
right now, I splurged back in February. I'm still working my way through this bottle of Wilderness Trail. It's might be the best bourbon I've ever had.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but that's pretty
You're gonna
good.
tell us how much you spent on it, or you're gonna make me bing it?
That particular one, I got a bit of a discount on it, and it was still like $100.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well that makes sense.
That's a fine bourbon. That's a fine bourbon price.
Yeah, I think, or maybe it was $100, and I got like 10 off, so it was like $90.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it was a really good suggestion of a friend of mine.
So the only thing I'm regretting is I love watching the Kentucky Derby pregame and all the nonsense and like all that stuff. But the Heat game is at 3:30, which is a perfect time because it'll end at 6 and the race will kick off at 6:20. But I kind of wish it was like not exactly butted up against one another because it's going to be a lot, right? Because I'm going to probably have a 2-screen experience for this because I like watching the dumb shit where they're like, here we're going to eat sandwiches around. It's always like some random celebrity just like drinking.
Tara Lipinski.
Yeah, exactly. Tara Lipinski drinking mint juleps in the cheap seats. It's like I like all.
Man, I was gonna say something, but it's gonna rain on your whole Saturday, so I might just keep it to myself. But all right, you've invited it after I've suggested it. But what's gonna happen is the Heat are gonna get trounced, and you're gonna go, I'm glad I can change this over to Derby coverage because I don't want to watch this Heat game anymore. And then you'll be happy.
That's great.
But also like a sad happy.
Until I lose my money. Because I'm gonna bet a lot on the Derby.
So are you
oh.
So all right, so the Heat game, then the Derby game, and then Inter Miami versus Atlanta United.
I'm gonna be a waste. I'm gonna be useless from the 3:30 on.
And then footy, probably.
Forgot about that. Sydney plays Saturday night. They do.
I think that's a 1 a.m. game, but I'll probably still.
Are the Panthers going to end up playing on Saturday too, or?
Oh my God.
I probably.
No, they play Tuesday, Thursday. So they'll probably take 2 days off between, right? When they move the series from Toronto.
Game 1 is tomorrow. Game 2 is Thursday. Game 3. Oh, you just literally just said
to be
that.
Determined.
I'm literally just
going back to what we were talking about, Jimmy Butler. It would be an interesting time for him to sit because it's almost a week, right? So the Heat have the luxury of completing their series early. The Knicks did the same thing. So they played that Sunday. They play tomorrow, and then they play their next game Saturday. So going from Sunday to Saturday, if you wanted to rest him, it may be worthwhile. What I want them to do, if Jimmy's up for it, is go try to step on New York's jugular and kill him. You know, like take him out early and take 2 games on the road and try to like be vicious. And that's like the Pat Riley approach. But I fully understand if Jimmy Butler is like, hey, let me get – Eric Spoelstra is like, you want 5 days of rest? It's like, kind of do. Kind of do on a bum ankle, you know?
Yeah.
It really works out. The schedule works out very favorably to recover like a swollen injury, right? Or a twisted injury, not like a sprain or anything more serious.
I mean, they should have sent him over to Germany and started like injecting him with all kinds of blood treatments and stuff. But
R.I.P. the Kobe Bryant treatment he used to go to. Where he was
exactly,
healed forever.
exactly.
All right, boys. I got nothing else for you. I don't know if anyone else has anything.
No, it's been fun.
All right, I'm gonna sleep this beer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
go
it.
Heat, go Panthers, go Derby.
Whoa,
Yeah.
two kills.
Go Angel of Empire and hit
Sun
show.
Thunder. It's all about that Sun Thunder.
Sun
Go
Thunder.
Sun.
We should do what we should do is whoever's horse finishes. If your horse wins places or shows, you pass out a beer. And then also whoever's underdog does the best
I love that.
or something like that.
Except I took 2 medium
Although I might have
odds,
picked.
so that kind of screws everything up.
Well, you have a better chance of winning the bottom pool, but
It's true.
less of a chance of winning the top pool. So
We do.
that's fine.
There you go.
All right. You ready to wrap it up?
Go.
Good night,
Yep.
Joey.
Wrap it up or stick
Good
it
night,
in.
Tyler.
Good night, Cactus.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.